Howdy. So sorry. Turns out I never showed you the second side of this paper, and I don't even remember if I showed you the line, like what you're supposed to reflect across. So this was my intention, to show you the notes where you're reflecting across the line that is not the axis, the x-axis or the y-axis. So I'm so sorry. I know you were supposed to have turned in a worksheet, but I'm going to show you what you should have done for the worksheet. Again, very sorry. But hopefully, maybe I showed you that this top one, so on the back side here, we had y equals x, which is a perfectly diagonal line, and you just switch the two. So for this one, we have y equals negative x, which is a perfect diagonal with a negative slope. So this is the line of reflection. And so just like the other one, if you go up 1 unit for A, you're supposed to go down diagonal unit for A prime. So please, keep in mind these diagonal boxes are a different length and they need to be perfectly perpendicular. So like for P, if I'm sitting on the mirror, I go up half a box, so I go down half a box. Once you do that, you're gonna get the coordinate points, both for the original points and the new translated points. Reflected points, transformed. So if you look at this, I don't know if you notice a pattern, but just like with y equals x, we can switch them. So instead of 4, -3, we have 3, -4, but you might also notice that we have to switch the sign of both of them. So your job for this one is to switch them. It's easiest to see for P, and then also change their signs. So for that, I'm gonna write -y, -x. That represents that you're going to make the x and the y switch spots. So it's y, x, and then the negative makes it like the opposite. So if it's positive, you make it negative, and if it's negative, you make it positive. So for these two, and I'm sorry about this, it occurred to me that this would have been off the page, which is fine. But for these two, if you had used Desmos to graph this, y equals 1 is actually a line. And so I'm gonna ask, I would have, if I were in class, I was gonna ask you guys, if we have y equals 1, that's up and down, left and right or up and down, and it turns out it's up and down. So when we go up 1 unit, you can see maybe I've already drawn the line right here. This is the new line of reflection. So this is acting like our new mirror. And so when we're further away from the axis, it means that we're gonna jump the points even further away. And I'll show you what that means now. So if A is down 1 unit from the mirror, the new A is going to be up 1 unit from the mirror. If P, even though it's down 3 from the axis, it's down from the mirror. You start there and you go 1, 2, 3, 4 units below. So now you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 units above. Make that be P prime. And then H is 2 units below. So I also do 2 units above H prime. And then when you connect them, you'll get your reflected triangle. And for some reason, I always make them thinner than they're supposed to be. But it's kind of like, okay, can I do this? My fingers, ew, I'm sorry, that's so gross. My fingers are so, I'm white, I can't help it. Anyway, I'm just gonna say ignore that. And then here they just want you to write the new coordinate points. There's not going to be a rule in symbols for this one, just because the x's stay the same, but the y's change in a weird way where you have to go like further, so we can ignore that for now. But you are going to put the coordinate points, and so that would be the same for this one. Reflection across x equals 3 is this line. So remember, the x is left and right. So if we go x +3, that means 1, 2, 3 units, and it ends up being this entire line. So this is actually a vertical line that crosses right through x equals 3, but it's the entire line. And if you're ever unsure, just plug it into Desmos. This is our new line of reflection, and you might see that for the first time, this little guy is crossing over it. So this is when using just counting boxes is going to be your best friend. So from this line, A is 1 unit to the left, so I'll make A prime 1 unit to the right. H is 1, 2 to the left, so H prime will be 1, 2 to the right. And P is 1 to the right. So I'm going to make this 1 to the left to reflect it, just like a mirror would reflect over this line. And so when you connect these, you are going to see that it is a reflection, like it's been flipped, like it's been totally just like over this line. So this is what you're supposed to do for these ones. I'm so sorry that I forgot to show you these, but this worksheet, it looks a lot busier than it is. So when it says reflection across your, please read directions. Identify the following. Did we reflect across X, Y, or the diagonal Y equals X? So hopefully for this one you wrote, this is the Y axis. Sorry about the camera. This is the diagonal, which is Y equals X, etc., etc. So you're supposed to just recognize where it's been reflected over. If you'd like to draw the line of reflection, if you don't see it already on the paper with a dotted line, feel free to draw that symmetry. So unfortunately, I didn't also get to teach you about symmetry in class, but that's going to be on the back of your study guide. So it's kind of fun to practice, but not too important. This one is significantly harder. So this is the one where you'd want to use your notes. So with these rules, you're supposed to see what has changed from one to the other. So if I have 1, 5, and then 5, 1, 2, 6, and then 6, 2, 8, 9, and then 9, 8, what might we say happened? And so you might recall from the notes that we switched X and Y, which means this is reflection across Y equals X. And so as a reminder, I know that this I just jumped to, if you haven't watched the last video in a long time or looked at this in a long time, reflection across the Y just switches the sign of X. This one just switches the sign of Y. So we're gonna check and see, ooh, looks like this one switched signs. Instead of 5, 2, negative 5, 2. Instead of 3, 8, negative 3, 8. So when you look at your notes, let's see, which one is that? I'm letting you have a second to see which one is that. It's this one, which is reflection across the y-axis. So when we change X, we reflect across Y. And so there's a couple, that might be hard for you to remember, but the reason it's across the y-axis is because Y stays the same. So when you reflect over Y, the height doesn't change, but the X's change. So this is, hopefully you finished that. And then on the back, they wanted you to do your reflections. And here, let's see. Oh, this isn't even, reflecting. Okay, this isn't even the one where you have to reflect over lines that aren't Y equals X or Y equals negative X. Let me check. Sorry that I'm unprepared, but I have all the papers here. Here it is. So the worksheet, the other worksheet from CUDA over here, has these that you could use your notes from. So reflection across Y equals negative X for number 1. Whoops. Girl. I needed to use a ruler or maybe even my eyes. This is the line Y equals X. And so when you go down here to X equals negative 2, you're supposed to find X equals negative 2. And the line negative 2 is going to be, this is going to be vertical. So it's going to cross directly through the line negative 2. And now from here, you're going to count the boxes. So I'll start with Y. Y is 2 to the right, so I'll go 2 to the left. That's Y prime. Start at our mirror. T is 2 to the left, so you go 2 to the right, etc., etc. And I don't know if you're 1, 2, 3, if I'm going too fast, 1, 2, 3, or too slow, but hopefully you're able to engage with this video as much as you need. Also, I'm sorry it keeps focusing as I'm drawing. I know that's probably very distracting. So if you didn't turn in your reflections worksheet, I can let Miss Awad know to give you credit if you turn it in a little bit late because this packet for reflections, you were supposed to have finished that last week on Friday to turn it in. And I didn't know how long it would take you. And then for tomorrow, I'm gonna give you notes on rotation. So I'll post that video right now. After that, you have a study guide. And then we're gonna see if Miss Awad thinks you're ready for the quiz. See you later.